Good morning, master growers. Here we are, and it's going to be potato harvest day. We're really a little early for harvesting potatoes. Probably it'd be best to harvest them in September. But I'm an impatient gardener, so I just want to see what's growing underneath the soil here. Potatoes are so cool. They grow, have all this foliage up here on top, and they grow and they grow and they grow, and you never know what's growing underneath. I'm hoping there's something growing underneath. With carrots, you could see the tops of the carrots, so you know something's growing. Beets, you can see the top, you can see what's growing. All these other things, onions actually are above the surface. You really know what's growing because you can see it. But with potatoes, it's like a miracle when you get a potato. So I'm crossing my fingers that we're going to get something out of this one bucket today. This is the grow bag. In the past, I've grown them in the soil, in the garden beds, where you hill it all up as the foliage sprouts up, you hill it all up. And we have a big bed, and I have a big fork that I dig up and pull the soil up, and the potatoes are magically exposed. Well, this time we're going to see if they actually work in these grow bags. So I have my assistant master grower here, Grandpa.
Muscle.
All right, dip down, they can't see your head.
Oh, I'm muscle today.
Oh, you still can't see your head, but that's all right.
I'm almost muscle.
Okay, he's my muscle. He's gonna help tip this bag open and spill it all out, and we'll see if we actually get any potatoes. Okay, let's go. Ready?
Almost.
All right, come on, muscles.
Go.
Oh, okay, here we go. So I put it on this plastic sheet because I don't want to lose this soil. I want to be able to replant in this grow bag as part of my fall garden. See anything coming out?
Nope.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's just pull these down here. Okay. Nice soil.
Wonderful soil.
All right. We have to sift through this. Ooh. Oh, look. Oh, here, I want to show everybody. Look at how the potatoes are growing off of this vine. Look at these, even these tiny baby ones. If I had let it grow longer into September, these would have swelled up and gotten a little bit bigger. But these make tasty little spuds. So, let's see what we've got. Anything else?
More coming.
Oh, here's a couple little babies on there, but
I'm pulling all the way out.
yes, please. Oh, try and pull this sheet underneath it.
Cool.
All right. Ooh, there are a few deep down, little ones. Little ones. Oh yeah. Nice to have nice fluffy soil. There. All right, so. Well. Oh, there's one. Oh, here's another one. Don't want to miss that one. Well, what do you think?
We got potatoes.
We do have a nice little bit of potatoes. Let's see, let's bring you in here and see. Well, that's probably one meal worth for 4 people.
Yeah, but just think of all those other ones that are going to have a lot more.
Okay, we're in out of the sun. We did this first thing in the morning. The best time to harvest during the day is in when you have a cool, overcast day. Usually not the sunshine is the best. The sunshine on a potato, it causes it to turn green. You will see green potatoes in stores, and many of you heard that the green is poisonous. Well, it is in large amounts. It is poisonous. When potatoes are exposed to the sun, it produces a solanine, I think it is called, and that turns the potato green, the skin part. Most of that solanine is located on the skin. So if you cut that off, the potato is fine to eat. And only in large quantities is it going to really cause enough to hurt you. You can see there was our crop out of one of the grow baskets. Now, by doing this as kind of an experiment, I realized that yes, I should wait way longer until all of the plants die, especially in those grow bags. Not totally convinced that having grow bags is going to give me a large crop of potatoes. I think growing it in the ground like I used to would give me more yield of potato. But anyway, just an experiment. Now what I need to do is set these out in a warm but shaded spot. I think perhaps I'll put them underneath the porch where I had the onions and the garlic, and they need to dry off. So most of this dirt, you know, it's not totally moist, but there is a little moisture on it. This all dries off. You don't need to brush it off or anything like that. You would potentially damage the skins. Right now they're soft, and you don't want any bruising or any scrubbing off of their skin because that's their protective layer. So these, again, like the garlic and the onions, need to cure. I did want to tell you about the different times you can harvest potatoes. This, I would say, is probably a mid-season harvest. I planted these in late May or June, not totally sure of the date. On about July, early July, you can actually dig into the potato hill, as they call it, and grab some of the new potatoes that are forming just off the roots, and then pile it back up, and the plant should then send out more potato little nodes and continue to add on more potatoes to the plant. People do that and they get these, you know, these small ones called new potatoes. A little later on in the season, they say you still can go in, and some people actually dig up the whole potato, grab a few of the potatoes off, plunk it back down in the soil, pack it back up, and it should still continue to grow, and you get additional potatoes on that plant, and then you harvest as usual in the late summer. So I chose not to do that. It's very hard to do that when you have a grow bag, because you got to dig in around the sides and down in, and you really don't know where you're going. And I decided not to do that. Too much disruption, I thought. I'm still pretty novice at the potatoes. I'm thinking maybe next year I will again do the grow bags. I think it's a nifty space-saving solution, because I don't have that much garden space, and it's a good way to have additional garden space. So what I'm going to do is put all of that soil back into that grow bag and put in either lettuce, spinach, radishes, something like that, that I can be harvesting in September and into October. So that's a way of extending my garden season like we did talked about in the last video about fall gardens. Anyway, I just want to explain where we are in our in my setting here. This is the planter on the west side of the garage. Dan and Grandpa redid it. It was kind of falling apart a little bit. Put more soil in it, and we got a whole load of wood chips, and we topped this all off with wood chips, and I'm sitting right on the side of it, and it's all safe and secure, and it's a nice shady spot. Coop is down here by my side, and that's where we are in our potato portion of this video. All right, I'll be back with more. A little addition to the potato information. I emptied all of that soil back into the bag, getting ready for another planting of something. And I found 4 more potatoes. So it really is worth your while to sift through all of that soil to make sure you get every possible little spud that you can find. Also, I did find all 6 of the chits, which were that's what you call the original potato that you cut up and you put into the soil to produce all of these plants. So I found all of those. Those are no good. They just get tossed off into the, actually I didn't put them in the compost pile or anything. I just tossed them into the hedgerow. Here we are, question and answer period. Beautiful background, Blind Sodas Bay. It's a nice evening. We had, let's see, 4 questions today. And so let me get right to it. Okay, Lisa asked, what kind of technology has helped me make my garden grow? Well, the biggest one is the information highway, right? Mr. Googly Pants, the internet. You can find anything. Anything that I'm telling you is found on the internet. So, and outside of a smartphone to record all this, and a real cool app to do the video editing, all the information comes from the internet or from good old school books too. But that was a smart question. Thanks, Lisa. Now, Katie said she didn't think it was a gardening question, but she wanted to know what to do with basil. Well, I got basil. My basil is like shrubs. I actually had to cut a few down and use a real heavy-duty pruner to cut some off. But outside of my prolific basil crop, what you can do is you can cut the entire stem off, and I like to tie it in bunches, and you can hang it up and let it air dry in a nice location. I wouldn't do it in the sunshine, but that'll give you, it will dry a little greenish, dark greenish, sometimes a brownish greenish. When it fully dries, you can crumble it up and put it in a glass jar with a tightly sealed lid on it. A way to keep it nice and green would be to chop it up very finely or into strips, pack it down in ice cube trays, put a little water in it, and freeze it as ice cubes. And then whenever you need one, you just, take it out and you put it in whatever dish that you want it in. And that little bit of water is really not going to affect whatever dish you're cooking. And so, 2 ways of preserving basil. Drew asked a question about deterring pests and things like that. I think in video 7 I did touch on a lot of those things, but I'll go over a few of the things again. I'm going to start with a big pest, deer. The way to circumvent the damage from deer is to put up a fence. And then there's chickens. Smaller fence, but still a fence. Groundhogs, a fence. Anyway, so mammals, if you fence them out, it usually does a pretty good job. Deer can jump over 6 feet fences, so if they're determined to get at your crop, they'll get at your crop. But now down to the smaller pests. Beetles and any type of an insect that has an exoskeleton, meaning they don't have bones, but they have an outer surface. Personally, I use DE, which stands for diatomaceous earth. It's ground up diatoms, which come from the seas, and it's essentially ground up shells that are made of silica, which is essentially glass. Diatomaceous earth is, you buy it food grade, which means it won't hurt humans, but it will rub up against the exoskeletons of bugs, and they won't survive that. Same with ants. That was another one. Slugs and grubs and things like that. Grubs live in the soil. They're the second half of a life cycle of a beetle or a bug. For instance, what used to be called Japanese beetles, which are now more commonly referred to as Asian beetle. Those I pick right off the leaves, put them in a sudsy container of water, and they'll expire. And if you do that often enough, as many years in a row, then they won't have their life cycle where they then burrow down into the ground and live that stage of the ground, their set stage of their life in the ground. And you can get rid of those over the long term. There are, of course, pesticides that you can use, but I choose not to use those. Things like slugs, if you put down diatomaceous earth also for slugs, they don't like to crawl across that. You put sand around some of your plants, they don't like to crawl across that. The DE, they don't like to crawl across that, and that'll be a deterrent. Also, a small container of beer, and I always say the cheap kind, they'll crawl into that, they're attracted, and they will die. Anyway, so that's the short. I don't know how much more I had in the other video, but I think it was video 7. Anyway, thanks, Drew. Okay, now Sophie and Claire were asking, how do Grammy and Grandpa eat all of this harvest? Or do we give it away, or do we preserve it? Well, all three. Lately, I have been eating tomatoes like crazy. All those cherry tomatoes and those tiny little Candyland tomatoes, I just grab a handful and snack on them whenever I go by the bowl. But I have started to preserve some things. Beans, we seem to be getting just a few every day. Or, you know, we just eat them up for dinner. And I have put a couple packages of those away. Do anticipate a lot more coming on in the bean department, and those I freeze. So I don't like canned beans. Usually the only vegetable, or actually it's a fruit, that I can is tomatoes. So, and we do give a lot away too. So those are the 4 questions for the week. And so I just got in a couple more questions right now, so that I thought I'd answer them quickly. Krista asked that she was saying that Corinne grew some broccoli and it just grew really tall and never got any broccoli on it. They live in North Carolina, so very hot weather. Broccoli is a cold weather crop, or cooler weather crop. What you need to do if you live in those climates is start your broccoli either in March, April, depending upon your region. And so it has time to grow and produce the head that it needs to before you get really hot weather. Or you start your broccoli in like now, beginning of August. You'd have to start it or get a start already and then put it in your garden. So it acclimates into your garden, and then it does most of its growing in the coolest part of the season. But North Carolina, you could be able to get a lot of your cold weather crops for a harvest in the fall. Krista also asked about cucumbers. She had a cucumber, didn't grow very big, and then turned yellow. I can't really answer that question because I don't know what the growing conditions are. It could be that it's too hot. Could be that it didn't get enough moisture and water. Could be your soil. Could be, I don't know that it's insect damage. But anyway, that keep trying. Keep trying. I hope the plant is doing all right. And you can always hope for, you know, more fruit on that cucumber vine. All right. Thanks for all the questions this week. So now I got to pick a winner. Okay. So, and the winner is